Lost and Found with Cain Stevens. All right, everybody, welcome to my new show. My name is Cain Stevens. My real name is Cain Nungesser. I go by Stevens because it's a heck of a lot easier to find when you're looking for things. It doesn't necessarily, if you try to spell out my long, wild last name, it's going to be hard to find. So yeah, this is my new show. This is a Christian podcast that I'm doing. I've been called, I believe, by God to do something like this. I've already been podcasting. I do another show called the Cain Stevens Paranormal Super Show, and you'll be wondering to yourself, well, how does that work exactly? How could you be in both worlds? How could you talk about the paranormal and call yourself a Christian? Well, it is possible. I mean, just fall along with me a little bit. So this show is a new show that I want to call Lost and Found. The reason for Lost and Found is for a lot of reasons. Throughout my life, I was lost. Yeah, I think about my life as like a boat out in the middle of the sea, and there's a horrible storm. The seas are smashing down on the rocks, the waves are high, and we're just looking for something, anything, hoping and praying that something will help us find our way back home, find our way to safety, and looking for anything out there. And then just when we think it's all lost, just when we think it's over with, we can see a light in the distance. And as we get a little bit closer and a little bit closer, the light becomes brighter and brighter. It starts leading our way. Eventually, we find the shore, and the storm subsides, and everything is, it's clear skies from there on. It's not always going to be clear skies, but for me, that's kind of how it was. So, Lost and Found, I think of a lighthouse beating a light out there for all to see, and it's, keeps spinning, keeps being a beacon to whoever needs it. Some might ignore it. Some might, not say they're not interested in it. Some might just, turn away from it. But I think that I was lost for the majority of my life. I'm 40 years old now. I've seen a lot. I feel like my mind has kind of expanded to the point where it really does happen. You really do gain a better understanding of life the older you get. It's the way it is. So be nice to your elders, be nice to old people who've been through it, because they might be able to teach you a lesson. So speaking of that, I just want to use my personal life and what I've gone through to push you guys in a direction where maybe you'll want to, maybe you're hurting. Maybe you don't know what you want to do with your life. Maybe you've been kicked down your whole life. Maybe things are going on in your life that you just can't seem to get it together. I've been there. I've been that person. I felt like I felt like I was the screw up of the family. I've had things happen to me. I went through some traumatic heart stuff, where I have to have a pacemaker now. At 40 years old, I'm disabled due to my heart condition, which hampers a lot of things. It makes things hard. But with God and my prayers answered, I can be with my family, and I can live on. I mean, it wasn't just the arrhythmia. I had heart failure too. So, and that sounds very scary, but it's not. I mean, it is scary, but it's not as scary as it sounds. As they explained it to me, you have heart failure. It doesn't mean your heart isn't working. It just means it's not working well. It's not working the way it's intended to. So, big shout out to my cardiologist at Bryan East here in Lincoln. For those of you who will be new to the show and haven't heard any of my other stuff, I live in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's a great place to live. I don't have any complaints here. I've lived here my whole life, basically, most of it. And I was born in Iowa. My family, got a lot of family and stuff from there. So, I mean, I'm a Hawkeye fan. So, that might that might make some people, get real angry. It makes me angry every Saturday when I watch them. So lately, man, that offense is rough. But I have a love for life, and I've done a lot of things. I've been a musician for a long time. I've been a frontman, lead singer, rhythm player, then become a lead guitar player, and I've just done what I can. There's a lot of things I'm ashamed of, like any person, but there was always some pressing thing in my life, always something giving me a moral compass when it felt like there was, I wasn't living a good life, being a good person. I've always tried to be a good person. I've always strived to be a good person. I just don't, I just wasn't happy with how I was being, I just, I've tried. I, I can't describe to you, for years struggling in a young family with my wife and my kids, going through a divorce and having a young child at that time, basically a baby. It was very hard for me, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I regret all of that. And then, it's just the battle. I mean, when they tell you that life is hard and they tell you the real world is tough, you laugh about it and you think, oh, there's no such thing as a real world. But the real world is just life. It's just life and what you make of it. The more things you have, the more money you make. All this stuff adds into a conglomerate of problems. But it doesn't have to be that way. There's always going to be problem. I mean, it's part of the human experience. We make mistakes. But I wish that I had followed a lot of that advice. At some of the churches that I went to as a kid. I from a young age, I was really weird about church. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the fire and brimstone, stuff. You're going to hell. I mean, it terrified me. Listening to Revelations absolutely just stunned me. It was just it horrified me. So I don't know what it was. I don't know why I resisted so much, or why I knew in my heart, I felt like there was a God. I had been saved as a kid, but what does that mean exactly? You go to a church and you find out you're saved, or they tell you how to be saved, I should say. And so you accept Jesus into your heart and you repent, but you don't, as a kid, you don't understand. Like, what am I, pardon me, what am I repenting for? What am I sorry about? I'm going to live forever. I'm a kid. And so, as you get older, you kind of confirm all that. You kind of get your mind right. But for a lot of you out there, I don't think you understand the urgency that there is no there's no do-over. The time is now. If you're listening right now and you're not saved, or you've heard about Jesus and you've heard about church and you've denied it, like I did for a lot of years, where I felt like it was a media, and a lot of different, all the music I listened to, a lot of things. I'm not blaming it all on that. I still like a lot of that stuff, but I take a different approach to it, I guess. So you're all going to roast me about that, but that's how I get through. Um, but a lot of it makes you become a doubter. It makes you wonder if it's all a elaborate fairy tale. They tell you. I believe it was Tool. In one of the Tool albums or early albums, there's something about control. And yeah, I always interpret it as they're trying to control me, like the man, the high up people, the government, whoever's in control is just trying to control us with religion to shut us up, to keep us from going mad, taking whatever we want. But as I've gotten older and I've been through it, I've been up against it, where I'm writing love letters, death letters, just saying goodbye to people because of how my health was at that time, when all this heart stuff had begun. I really I was up against it. I mean, my mortality was in front of me, and I began to ponder and wonder, get scared. I'd cry, and I would I'd get angry. Why me? Why me? But I just felt like the prayers that were answered for me was when before all of that was happening, was when I was playing in bands and running karaoke shows and doing a bunch and working full time and basically going from 3 jobs, job to job to job, side jobs, doing what I can to make ends meet and maybe make some extra money for my family. But I was miserable. I was a drunk. I mean, I was I was lost in all of that and wallowing in my own self-hatred. And it was through that I would pray and I would beg, please, give me more time with my family. Help me out of this, because I felt like I was stuck. And it was like a lot of things, like a lot of the stories in the Bible. I'm reading Daniel, and about like the king, King Nebuchadnezzar. If I'm mispronouncing that, I'm sorry. That's just how it makes sense in my head. But anyways, the king in that story, I mean, he was the greatest king of all time. Babylon's king and all of its glory, and God had to break him down to make him see, the error of his ways, to truly repent and truly give himself to God. I believe one of the sermons that I'm listening to, I listened to. My sister goes to a church, Calvary Community Church here in Lincoln, and Pastor Steve is the pastor there now. Pastor Godwin was there before, and Pastor Godwin did a fantastic job for years. I had went there a long time ago, but now with God pressing down on me and just giving me giving me more clarity. I feel God's love, and I want to do so. I'm starting to dig into the Bible harder, and I'm starting to really try to listen to sermons. So I'll listen to sermons from Pastor Steve, and right now they're in Daniel. I've been bouncing back and forth from Daniel to Revelations because I felt it was important to face my fears and dig into Revelations and really see what it means. And it actually gives me kind of a better understanding now that I'm older. And I mean, now I'm not going to say closure. I don't know what that, not really closure, but it is helping me to understand the Bible better and maybe understand some of those fire and brimstone sermons that I heard years ago that terrified me. But so in Daniel, what is it? It's the blessedness of brokenness is what they titled the last couple of weeks, and that's how I feel. It really resonates. So I felt like God broke me in order to build me up and strengthen me so that I could do this type of thing. This is far out of my comfort zone, but I just feel like I got to do my part. I got to, I don't have a bunch of money to throw at the church or this and that. But I can help people. If I could save, I know it's a cliche thing, maybe it is, but maybe it should be. If I could save one person at a time, if I could save anybody and help somebody, or somebody's wondering if Christianity's for them, then I hope I've done what I need to do. I mean, I'm trying to change my philosophy as a musician. I mean, I'm a recording artist. I've got a couple albums that I put out. It took me a long time to make it. I mean, I did all of it. God gave me talents to play guitar and sing, and gave me the resources to produce. Thank you to my cousin in Los Angeles, who was so gracious to help me out and continues to help me and teach me. But man, God has just put so many things in my life, and I feel like if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. I am your typical, regular, average, everyday guy. I mean, I don't feel I don't feel extraordinary in any way. I don't feel I love my family fully. I love them with all my heart. I mean, I would give everyone, my kids, my wife. I'm so blessed to have. I mean, God has given me so much, and I have been broke down. I've been broke, and God continues to provide for me and help me, family, friends, people I meet. I'm just amazed by it. And I just want to pass the savings on to you. I mean, if I think that's far more valuable. I mean, I get it. If you need money, but this is what I can pass on to you. I can pass on my experiences and my knowledge. So, that's kind of a roundabout explanation. I'll dig into my story more as the podcast goes on, but this is the first episode. This is an introduction. So, why would you want to listen to another Christian podcast? Why would you want to listen to someone like me who, if you go back and you listen to my catalog of music, which I don't apologize for, and I'm not going to take down, because everything from here on out, that I make, if it glorifies God and it's good, then I want you to see the progression that I've made as a person from that stuff. That stuff is so meaningful, and those albums were so hard to write for me because I was so honest about my experience throughout my life and the things that have happened to me. And if you feel so inclined to listen to that stuff, fine. You can find me, under Cain Stevens on all streaming services. But I want to take the trajectory to another level. I wanted to Um, I want to do things that glorify God. I want to help produce musicians and people, podcasters, people who want to glorify God's word. And I want to help them. And if they're trying to spread God's word, I want to do that to the best of my ability. I want to use my gifts to help them. I'm not asking for money. I'm not. I'm saying if you're in the Lincoln or Omaha area, I would help you as best I can. If you're not, if you're somewhere else, if you want to send me if you have a way to record yourself and record the stems, on of the different things that you're recording, and you have a way to send them to me, I'll do the best I can to clean it up for you, and make it better and help you to get it out there. So, use this podcast as a tool. It's just another tool in your arsenal. Life is hard. Being a person, being a human being is hard, but it doesn't have to be hopeless. There is hope. There is love. And even if you feel like there is none, I'm telling you, I've been there. I felt that way. I've been so down. I've fallen to my knees and I've screamed and I've cried, God, take me now, strike me down. And God didn't, because God, just because it's not in your time, God does have a plan for you. And God will listen to you. God cries when you cry. God will wipe away your tears. And, God will be the shelter to the storm. And the storm's coming, everybody. There's a lot of stuff brewing out there. There's a lot of things going on. And you might not want to believe it, but the storm is coming. So, with that being said, I've got a lot of plans for this podcast. I'll do some different segments. I want to talk to some church leaders, some people, have people testify on my on here on my podcast. I was just on an interview with an amazing new podcaster. His name is Danny, and he does the Testifying podcast. He's out of Omaha, and I testified on there, and a big shout out to him and one of my friends, Brent Lopez, who's a Christian rapper out of Omaha, a kid who grew up in the neighborhood with me, and I'm just so proud of this kid, and he's helped me along the way. And he's kept pressing me a little bit at a time, man, maybe you'll be ready one of these days to do something to glorify God. Maybe you'll be ready. And I just kept telling him, I'm not ready. I don't think I can do it. I don't think there's anything I can do that would be honorable enough to, honorable enough to glorify God in any way. But I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like God has filled my heart fully. God has always been there. I've let God in, and now it's time for me to do my part as well. So I've got some guests already lined up. They're going to tell me their story a little bit, and I'll interview them. And I can't wait to see where this goes. The sky's the limit, everybody, and it's all blue skies from here. So, welcome to the Lost and Found podcast with Cain Stevens. We'll be on all streaming, including YouTube. I'll post something on some sort of video on YouTube. Eventually, I'll probably do a live, not live, but like recorded. But I don't know. Some of it to me is like, I mean, obviously the audio will be there, but some of it to me is like, why does anybody want to just watch me blabbing on, blabbing on and on? Like, the audio's there, so I'll figure something out. if you are into the supernatural, check out the Cain Stevens Paranormal Super Show. There's nothing too crazy in there. It's just ghost stories and things. I have a strong belief that there are spirits and there are things out there. It's okay to talk about them, but just watch yourself. It'd be scary. So, thank you guys for listening. This will probably be a pretty short introduction, but I'm going to try to pump these out as I'll try to pump them out weekly if I can, and try to give you guys some great content. So please listen, please stick around. I appreciate so very much every single one of you that listens, and I hope that I can touch somebody's heart like mine has. So thank you guys. I love you all. Take care.